Hey, welcome to episode 51 of Block Magazine. I'm Neil. I'm sure you know if you're watching. And I'd like to welcome Cassie, our professional lurker.
Hello. I've been lurking strong for probably about 2 years now.
And you guys have just missed the most hilarious, everything fucked up moment ever.
Today's show was brought to you by a series of comical errors.
Yeah, and Cassie can tell you what went wrong, what happened.
Well, there were the technical difficulties to start with. I've never done any kind of streaming before. I'm completely technologically inept, and getting the whole camera set up was kind of a pain. And then my screen here to hide my shame, it fell over and
So I saw the
broke.
shame. I've seen it. I can.
Neil has seen my shame now. We're closer than ever.
Yeah, luckily your boyfriend was there, wasn't he, to save the day,
Exactly,
so he managed to jump
exactly.
in. Yeah, Tabitha's watching and she thinks we were just gossiping, but we weren't. We weren't gossiping. We were actually having technical difficulties.
I'm not sweaty because I was watching Cops. I'm sweaty because of the series of horrible errors. Oh yeah, I even got a splinter in my hand. I had to cut it out with a knife.
Oh, yeah, show everybody your wound.
Oh wait,
The things that you have to go through to get on Block Magazine, I tell you.
That's right.
Wow. So apart from that, are you okay?
I am fine. I'm just a little frazzled from the technical difficulty parts. Like you told me don't be nervous, and I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm completely technologically inept. I so bad with technology.
But now your setup is perfect now for you to start podcasting on your own, by yourself. So I think you should.
It's like I never should move again. I don't know that I would have anything that interesting to talk about.
Oh, I think you would. Even if you're just slagging me off, getting you to do test knits.
So yeah, that was an undertaking, to be sure.
Just to give everyone a bit of context. So, did you ask me or did I ask you about the pattern? I can't remember how it came about now.
I think I threw the pattern up in our group chat and I was just like, oh, this is cute. And you're like, oh, hey, I could update that. And I'm like, oh, that would be cool. And you were like, oh, who would be interested if I upsized it? And I was like, oh, I would be. I'd totally be into that. And next thing you know, we're test knitting it. And then next thing you know, it's all like, oh, hey, this Sailor Beware sweater would be perfect for the Hoist the Colors issue. And next thing you know, we've got a deadline.
Yeah, you've got 3 days. Get working. Come on, faster. So, it was the Sailor Beware pattern from 1957, I think it was, wasn't it? And it's been going around the internet a while, hasn't it? Because I have seen it before. But it's only in one size. So I thought, right, okay. You asked about it. I can't remember exactly when that was now. 6 months ago? 4 months ago?
I think we started talking about it in January, and then at the beginning of February I started it.
Wow. So really, if you think about it, we did that really quick. Well, you did that really quick. I'm saying we as if I was helping you knit it.
Well, you definitely helped me sort out some stuff when I was banging my head against the wall on what
it was I think it's definitely a blood, sweat and tears project, wasn't it? I think you had some real difficulties going through. Nothing to do with your knitting or even the pattern, really, was it? There was just other stuff going on as well, wasn't there?
Well, so I would say that I'm kind of like an advanced beginner. Like I haven't attempted too much crazy stuff knitting. I started out crocheting when I was 11. I found a crochet hook at my grandfather's house on top of a water heater in like the water boiler closet. And I was really excited because I had just learned about the whole mummification process in school. And I swore it must be one of the hooks they use to pull the brain out of the mummy through the nose. I was super excited. I thought I'd made this great archaeological find in my grandfather's house. And I took it to my mom and I was like, Mom, look what I found. What do you think it is? And she's like, oh, I know what this is. And so she got me a skein of yarn and basically showed me how to chain stitch and like single crochet and just kind of let me go crazy. And
well, thank God it was a crochet hook, because now you'd have been poking people's brains out. So you've just given Tabitha an idea to get him crocheting. So she's going to get her son crocheting by telling him that story.
I don't know. I mean, do morticians make good money? I don't know. I mean, maybe my whole career path should have been to be a mortician instead.
Everybody dies, so you've got to go through there at some point, haven't you?
Yeah, and they just gouge you, capitalize on your grief in the death industry for sure. So,
well, going back to mummified brains, you know, the Victorians used to drink the liquid out of the mummy's brains.
That's gross.
Rank, isn't it? Look it up, people. It's true. It's like, oh. So why did you, just going back to that, why did you think it was a hook for pulling brains out? What was the link there? How did that?
So, I mean, like literally it kind of just looks like a big crochet hook, what they use to pull out the brains from mummies. And I just learned about it in history class and I'm really excited about it. And I just had this fantastic teacher. I mean, like, you know that they're a fantastic teacher if like 30 some odd years later, I still think about them. Mm-hmm. And like,
was he strict as well by any chance?
She wasn't super strict. Actually, she really encouraged a lot of creativity in class. And so she had us get really interactive. Like when we were studying Greece, she actually had us make chitons, which are the clothing they wore in Greece, and just like things like that. So she really, she's the kind of teacher that made history come alive.
So just so people know as well, you're in California, aren't you?
That is correct. I am in California. Excuse me, cough there.
Because what I found quite funny when I was speaking, not so much you, but when I was talking to your boyfriend just a second ago, he talks like people on TV talk, you know, like the American TV accent, but obviously because it's all Hollywood and California, isn't it? And he talks exactly like that. But now you're probably going to tell me he's not from California, aren't?
He is actually born and bred in California.
Oh, thank God for that. I thought you were going to make me sound stupid then by saying, oh no, he's from New York.
I really kind of sincerely hope I have like some kind of non-regional diction thing happening, but I don't know. So do I sound?
No, you sound. Yeah, you definitely sound. What's the word? You sound posh American.
Ooh, pot! Oh,
is he laughing in the background?
Can you hear my boyfriend scoffing in the background? You may hear occasional scoffing from my boyfriend, or we may receive a visit from his child, a cat that has to be up in everybody's business. So,
that's good. We like cats here. Mine will be here soon, probably. I don't think mine's in. Hang on, which way? He's not in his little thing there, is he? No, he's not. He's hiding somewhere. No. So going back to the sweater, do you have the sweater there with you now?
I do. I actually thought about it and got it out of the trunk of shame that it was in.
Because when you said before, you say that you're an adventurous beginner. I think you need to up your ranking quite a bit now after making this sweater, because there was a lot of techniques in this, isn't there, that you didn't know before?
Yeah, so this was my first adult sweater. I've knitted a few baby sweaters, but I mean, like, those are teeny tiny and require no shaping at all, really. Just kind of glorified rectangles put together. This was only my second color work project. My first color work project was in November for Secret Santa for my coworker, and I was kind of lucky. Like or I guess she was lucky really, because she's a goth and she drew the only other goth, and I was like, oh, I got you covered, girl. I got you.
Here's a comment. I'm just going to share it. Intarsia still terrifies me. I am so pleased that you think this is an Intarsia, because it was originally an Intarsia pattern, wasn't it?
I guess so. They don't really specify. So that was the thing about older patterns that I've noticed. Because I mean, like, I've definitely read through some vintage patterns, but haven't really attempted any. And it didn't really specify. It was just like, do color work.
Yeah, they expect you to know a lot, don't they? Like when it came to the collar and things like that, it's just like, oh, just knit the collar and just attach it.
Yeah, just knit it and sew it on. It'll be fine. So I think
Sorry,
I think they gave a stitch count. I think they gave a stitch count in there on at least how
they did for the collar.
Long
I think.
to make it.
Yeah, I can't even remember whether they gave a stitch count for the cuff actually. Yeah, they definitely did things differently because there was a lot of techniques that we chose to do differently, wasn't there? But
yeah.
Anyway, let's see this work of art.
Oh goodness, let's see this monstrosity. So okay, here we go. Are you gonna make me big?
Hold on, I will do. There we go.
So,
wow, it is amazing, isn't it?
It is.
You must be pleased with it.
It's kind of a love-hate situation with it. So knitting wise, like it turned out beautiful. The Ladderback Jacquard stitch, which was also my first time doing that. That was another first for this. Let's see here. We'll give a peek of the inside behind the scenes.
Oh, here. I love that. That is so good. So that's like it comes away from the fabric, doesn't it? It's kind of
yeah. Like
it's almost like a separate piece of knitting, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see how it's kind of netting apart here. Yeah. So I did pointedly catch it in the edges when I was stitching it up.
Right.
So that way it wasn't just free floating. Because I didn't know if it was going to bulk up weird or something. So yeah, so we're going to put this down because it is 70 some odd degrees here and I'm under a quadruple thick layer here.
So the advantage of doing the ladderback was that it's stretchy, isn't it? Very stretchy.
Yes, it's
and
very
you don't get you don't see the floats through the stitching, which you do with Fair Isle style. But the downside to it is that you get a double thick fabric, don't you? And obviously, if you're living in the middle of California, you don't want to. And is that I can't remember. Is it worsted weight yarn or is it DK weight yarn?
We went with DK because I had sweaters quantities laying around.
So it's a double layer of DK in California.
Yeah. So in knitting math, it was free to make because I already had it in stash.
Yeah, which is lucky, isn't it? Because how much did you used a lot of yarn? Because that technique does use a lot of yarn.
It does use more yarn, but if you don't want any of the contrasting colors to show through, like it's really excellent for that. Like my first project, I was a little overzealous in catching my strands, and I was catching every other stitch.
Oh, right. Yeah. We all do that at the beginning, though. I think everybody does it the first time around.
So when this beanie I made isn't stretched out, it is this beautiful kind of crow skull or bird skull of some sort, right? But then once you put the hat on, it pulls apart and you can see the floats poking through that I caught, and it kind of becomes a Cthulhu instead.
Yeah. So if you did color work again, would you do Ladderback again, or would you do what didn't you like about Ladderback, say, for example?
So setting it up was a little challenging for this sweater specifically because we opted to do a double knit band on the bottom, which it was also my first time doing double knit. So
in retrospect, that was a mistake, wasn't it? Well, I made a massive F up with that, really, because in the original pattern, you just knit, don't you? And then you turn it inward and then you sew it in. But we could have knitted that together. Yeah, and then the color work starts right on that edge, doesn't it, where it folds under. Well, I can't remember why you didn't want that. You didn't want to sew it, did you? You didn't want to do that. So I came up with the idea of doing a double knitting edge, but completely forgot that in the original it folded under and that you wouldn't see it anyway. So you ended up with is it 2 inches or 2.5 inches longer than you probably wanted it, didn't you? Because of that.
I mean, I didn't mind that it was longer. Like if it goes from being a sweater to a little bit of a sweater dress, that's fine. So like lengthwise, I was okay with it. Really, I probably should have gone down a needle size to double knit it. And so unfortunately it kind of added a little
flare a little bit.
It did flare a hint, yeah. So
well, we have talked about I mean, not now, you need to recover from this project, don't you? But we have talked about taking that out and actually just knitting, you know, a piece that then does fold under. So in the pattern, I left it as it originally was. I didn't put the double knitted border in the pattern because I just thought it doesn't actually need to be there, because people could still get that effect by just knitting a rib or something, you know what I mean? Yeah, if people do want the double knit version, I can always put that in a future issue if you want to know. But how did you find that technique? Because that was a first for you as well, wasn't it?
It was a little bit tedious to start with, because I'm predominantly an English style knitter, and so the yarn in the front, yarn in the back, yarn in the front, yarn in the back. That was definitely slow. One good thing that I will say that came from this project is I really developed my left hand skills some. So I wouldn't say that like my instinct isn't typically to knit continental now, but I'm definitely much more capable of knitting continental than I was before.
Yeah, English style is quite restrictive for a lot of things. Like if you ever do brioche, the English style of knitting just does not suit brioche because it's the yarn forward, yarn back thing, like you say. There's a lot of movement in that, isn't there? Whereas the continental style, I can't do continental, but you just do it with your finger, don't you? So it's a lot more simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing about this sweater was that it was a dolman sleeve and it was knitted flat in two pieces. Mm-hmm. So how did you find doing the ladderback flat? So you were knitting and purling ladderback, weren't you?
Yes. I thankfully found a really, really solid tutorial that covered pretty much every which way that you might have to handle ladderback jacquard. Like starting, a new row of ladderback jacquard from the front, starting it from the back, ending it from the front, ending it from the back. And so it was a really, really solid tutorial. It was very concise. It was nice because it was all bookmarked off, so you could just jump straight to whatever section you needed. And so, I mean, I probably referenced that video like 30-40 times easily.
Yeah, because some people listening will think, why didn't you do it in the round? But you couldn't have done that in the round with the dolman sleeve, could you?
We would have had to split for the sleeves. Basically, like we could have, so it's worked bottom up, so we could have started from the bottom in the round, but we would have had to split at some point for the sleeves because it kind of angles up. And I don't really know how we could have achieved that in the round.
I mean, it must be possible. I mean, I did think about it. I did think, is this possible? And I just thought, I think for the amount of time we had, there wasn't enough time to even play with that idea, really.
I mean, if anyone could figure out how to do it, it'd probably be Anne.
Yeah. Well, shall we give her that task? We'll give her that homework. And if you're watching, that's your new homework. We want a dolman sleeve in the round.
And I guarantee she'll intarsia it all too. So.
She would, yes. So people who don't like intarsia, I would very strongly suggest learning Ladderback Jacquard because you can use it for any kind of colour work at all. I think the thing to remember is, say if you've got intarsia where it's just one motif on the front of a garment, for example, you do have to decide whether you want to go all the way around that garment with Ladderback Jacquard because you're going to use a lot of yarn that people are never going to see. But that is an option if you really can't stand intarsia. But if there's a couple of motifs, it's going to be worthwhile doing, I think.
Yeah, like if you want to just have a motif like just in the center of your sweater, like you can just knit up just the sweater, and then once you hit or get close to the motif, then you can start the Ladderback Jacquard just in the section of the motif, and then you can just drop it off once you're done with the motif. So you don't have to commit to the whole sweater like I did. It's just the skulls were everywhere. And so rather than trying to keep track of starting and stopping, I was like, not screw it, I'm just going to carry it through the whole thing.
That so you could have just done little bits of Ladderback, could you then?
I could have, but I felt like it would have been more tedious to keep track of. Because once you, with the Ladderback Jacquard there already, like, because you're basically creating sort of like a ghost stitch behind your working fabric. Like, oh, I'm like, oh, motif's coming up. All right. So just pick up whatever color of yarn you need. And the color you don't need just becomes the Ladderback Jacquard stitch.
So did you do, was it every 5 or 4 stitches you did your Ladderback?
Every 4 ended up working out really well.
So when you read in the pattern, unless somebody's written it especially for Ladderback Jacquard, that stitch isn't in the pattern, is it? So that's an extra stitch you need, but you'll know it's coming up because it's going to be in a different color. Plus, it falls back because you purl it, don't you, when you're on the right side, and you knit it if you're on the wrong side. So it automatically recedes away from the front of the work anyway. So it could be confusing if you do if you count your stitches. You would have to ignore your Ladderback stitches, wouldn't you?
So what I did was I bought 11 billion stitch markers.
How many? 11 billion.
11 billion stitch markers, and they're great too. I got them right here. Hold on, let me pull them out. Right, we're gonna turn this into one of those terrible like product unveiling videos, right?
Do your hand thing. Do the influencer hand thing. Let me make you big.
There we go. We gotta click it. Annoyingly click it. Oh yeah. This is this great new product I got. I hate these videos. I hate them so much. And then so they're these fantastic little kitty cat stitch markers.
Oh, I've seen them. Yes, I
got them off Amazon. There you go. That's right. There you go. Now,
does that open though, or is it a sealed?
Nope. It's a sealed. It's metal, and so they come in 2 sizes. They come in oh dear, what's happening? I think I bumped it. All right, am I still here? All right, good.
Yeah.
So it came in 2 sizes. It comes in like a big gauge size, and then it also came in a little small gauge size as well. So I bought 2 sets of it, and then just split them up into large and small.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it actually came in this little metal case too. So that was.
Are they magnetic by any chance? Those cases?
No magnets.
That's a shame.
But they do stay shut, which is nice. So I don't have my.
I wouldn't be able to use those particular markers though, because I have a problem with when I'm knitting and I use a marker. If I'm not careful, I end up knitting the marker into the garment. So I use those bulb pins so I can unpick them should I ever, do that.
I have the safety pin style ones.
Oh too. Yeah. I use those for crochet, funnily enough, but I don't like using them for knitting.
Yeah, I don't. I typically don't like to commit to stitch markers either. Like I prefer the safety pin type ones as well, just because I use them to. Especially for crochet, I use it to hold my last loop as well, to make sure it doesn't pull out. So let's see.
So, when are you going to be doing your next test knit?
I don't know.
Or is that it forever now? Never, ever again.
I have to get through Mal Hell first. So I am definitely doing the Moga Mal. Make along. There we go. Let's see here. I think I do have everything next to me. So I just started it. Let's see here.
Oh, you're doing a shawl. Oh, that's cool. Oh,
no, it's a cowl. It's a cowl.
Oh, right.
And this is interesting technique. It's a garter tab cast
Oh, let me make you bigger.
There you go. This is the beautiful Orange You Glad yarn and Black Like My Coffee Metal Soul by Tina Owenith.
Brilliant.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to say it perfectly.
Owenith. Yeah, Owenith. It's easier if you sing it. Owenith.
Owenith. And so it's a kind of a, I think I have the pattern handy since it's the everybody look at my stuff time.
I haven't brought any knitting to show anybody, I'm afraid. Oh, let me. Oh, yes, you must have posted it on Instagram. I love that.
Right?
That is so cool.
And so it's I was really put off at first because I was like, what do you mean start striping? It's not this stripy this soon, but apparently the under part of the neckline, here we go, we're not giving away too many.
Oh, right.
Secrets. So it starts up here. So I'm about like in this zone now.
So that bit, is that kind of hidden a little bit underneath when you're wearing it? So you don't really see it? Yeah, because I was thinking when you showed that, I was thinking, well, where does that bit fit in?
That was my thought too. I was like, what the heck? Why are we like, so I went to the projects page and I started looking at other people's projects. I'm like, what the heck is this?
Oh, that is going to look so much better than the purple one in that orange, because that orange is fabulous, isn't it? That is going to look so cool.
It's so dynamic. Like it's like you made fire into a yarn.
We need to be dead nice about that yarn because she's watching.
Oh, Tina knows I love her yarn.
Yeah, her orange, that particular, is it that orange that I've seen a few times, I've mentioned it. It's that really orange, isn't it? It's like the orangiest orange ever.
It's kind of a fiery orange, really. Hold on, let me pull up the skein as I like just throw everything onto my desk haphazardly. Let's see here. There we go.
Wow.
See the cake.
Really nice. It's so funny because since I've done, doing the Mogger Mal, I'm starting to like orange, and I've never liked orange ever.
Same here.
And I'm really enjoying the color, to knit with it. There's just something about knitting with orange that's kind of makes you happy.
Yeah, I'm generally not into orange, but like this is so multi-dimensional. It just looks like fire. Like if she didn't call it Orange You Glad, she should have just called it like LA Orange.
Yeah, because you've got Orange County, haven't you? You've got the Orange Groves.
I meant more like, Newsom letting Los Angeles and like burn, and also, the mayor of Los Angeles just letting it burn. But I'm just going right in. I'm just going right, just cutting right to the. So.
Yeah. So isn't LA called the Big Orange?
No, I think it's probably a Florida thing, I'm guessing. I mean, we do have an Orange County. That's where Disneyland is, but
yeah, I've been to the only place I've been to in LA. Well, I've been to the Hollywood bit, which I have to say, sorry, I'm going to diss LA. I absolutely hated LA. Yorba Linda, I think that's how you say it. I don't know if you know that area. That's not far from Orange.
That's Orange County. That's Orange County.
It's actually in. I didn't know it was actually in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I stayed there for about 3 weeks. I went to stay with them. This will showing my age now. I went to stay with a pen friend, an actual pen and paper friend, where you had to write to each other over the course of a year from school, kind of thing. Oh, anyway, that's a whole other story that I could do on a whole video, which is what ended up getting me to Canada and ended getting arrested for picking cherries. But anyway, enough of that. I'm not the guest. You're the guest. So tell us about the photo shoot, because that was, just so you know, I don't think you saw any of the photos, did you? But I got 166 photos from you. It was amazing.
I still have not seen the majority of the photos. So my friend took the photos and she sent them to me, and they were in a zip file, and I was at work and could not open the zip file on my phone. So I'm like, YOLO, and I just forwarded it to you in the interest of time, because we were cutting it really close there at that point. Actually, we were like a week overdue from the original date, but you were. I think that I think I wasn't the only person who was just kind of running behind schedule.
No, and it was more important to get that picture with the sweater in the magazine anyway. Plus, I still had a ton of stuff to do to finalize that pattern, so I was behind as well. So that extra week was more for me than anything else. You know what I mean? I just needed that time. But yeah, so
start doing a fake deadline and have a real deadline be like a week later.
Well, then nobody will ever believe me because it'll be like, no, this is the real deadline this time, the real one.
Don't tell them though. When people are like, "Oh, can I submit it a little late?" You're like, "I guess this time you can, but don't let it happen again."
Well, we do have a week breather because what I do is I release the draft of the issue a week early to the patrons, and sometimes that doesn't have a cover. Sometimes there'll be things missing. So, for example, the Sailor Beware pattern wasn't in that draft. I just had the blank pages because I'd rather they get what we've got at that time than have to wait another week on top of that. And then I'll add those things in. And so sometimes things slip in that week that wasn't in the original one. So it's all right. It doesn't matter. So when you did the photos, because I felt so sorry for you because it looked like it was a boiling hot day. You were wearing that boiling hot sweater.
So the original plan was going to be to go at dawn for the first golden hour, but I actually still had not finished knitting it at that point. So I called my friend up like the night before, and I'm like, look, it doesn't look like I'm going to have it done in time for us to be at the beach at 6 a.m. So we're going to have to shoot for sunset then. And so she's like, all right, that works out. And so we ended up over there at about 6 p.m. and on the beach, it's pretty significantly chillier. I would say it was probably in the high 60s, like 68, maybe about there. So like I was a little toasty in it, but I was not sweltering in it.
Right.
So
thank God for that.
It was mainly the main problem was like really staring into the sun. I'm just like, oh, my retinas, I'm burning them out.
You don't need your eyes. We needed those pictures more than you need your eyes. Come on, stop moaning.
Right.
Well, I love
pain, right?
I love the fact that there were people around as well, because some of the photos there were people in the background, but that was fine because I knew I'd be able to put like the logo over the top of them or whatever. But did you get any feedback from what you were doing? Did anybody ask what the hell you were doing?
Not really. There were a couple spots on the ship. So just to give context, so basically it is a large concrete ship right on the beach in Ventura County, California. And I really did try to find a real pirate ship. So we used to have a nice replica pirate ship that was in our local harbor. But I guess that they have not been there for a couple years. So I literally just went to a couple of our harbors just looking for pirate ships, which sounds really weird.
It does.
You know, I come home and my boyfriend's like, oh, like, where you been? I'm like, oh, I've been looking for pirate ships. So
well, it was just so lucky though, wasn't it, that you had that beach with that prop there? Because it like couldn't have worked, you know, because if it had been anyone else who'd done that test in it, they wouldn't have probably found a pirate setting to do it to. So everything must have aligned with you doing that test.
My boss at work was just like, oh, like just green screen it. And I'm like, no, it's not the same. It's not.
Yeah, it's always better. It's better when, because I've done a couple of covers where we've kind of done a green screen effect and they never look as good. And you can always tell. Yeah,
she's like, just use AI. And I'm like, I don't trust AI. I've seen Terminator. I don't trust AI. That's how it begins.
And then it knows what you look like because it's done a picture of you. So it'll be looking for you in 10 years.
I'm probably on every list ever at this point in time.
Well, I should show the cover then, really, shouldn't I? So we talked about it. So this is the cover we chose. What was good? Well, it was great and hard at the same time. So you'd sent us 166 photos, but what was good about that was that the photographer had kind of done 10 of this particular scene, 10 of this scene, 10 or whatever. I can't remember the exact numbers. So what I did initially was I thought, oh, I don't know how I'm going to pick the one from all of this. So I just picked the best one where you were stood on the rocks with the sea. Then I picked the best one where you were sort of dancing around the maypole thing, the mast, with the flag. And then I picked the best one where you were sat on the boat. Then the best one where you were stood on, like walking the plank and and then that way I think we ended up then with maybe 10, I think, of what could have been. Each one was good enough to be a cover. And then I just asked a couple of people, I just said, oh, I've got it down to these two, I think. What do you think? And then a couple of people just, oh, that one. And everyone said this one that we've got here, which is funny because this isn't the one I would have chosen myself. But I thought, no, I'll go with what other people are saying.
I was also surprised that that's the one that people went with. But I mean, like, I saw about 3 of them. I saw the one with the mast. And it was funny because I get there and I'm like, or actually I'm driving there and I think about it. I'm like, oh man, like it's going to drop probably the 1st or 2nd week of July and it's hoist your colors. And I'm like, oh man. So I text her. I'm like, do you have an American flag in your car? And she's like, I don't. And then I realized, wait, I have an American flag in my car. Because, just like any good American, like, why aren't you carrying an American flag around?
My favorite one is one of the ones where it's like you walk in the plank and you've got the American flag and the cross of the mast is behind you. But the thing about that is that so we kind of had this with when Tabitha's daughter was the model, because Tabitha took this absolutely fantastic photo of a daughter in the woods. It was a stunning photo and the light was kind of behind her daughter. So it's like she kind of glowed. It is in the magazine, but when I tried it as an image, because the logo is vertical and she was vertical, kind of stood there, it just looked like the number 11. It didn't really work. And that was kind of similar with you on the mast bit as well, on the walking the plank. It kind of, if the logo would have been, going across, what do you call it, vertically, then is it vertically? No, horizontally. Sorry. If it had been horizontal, it probably would have worked really well, that one. But anyway, I think this one is great. And one of the things that I liked as well is, I don't know how much thought you put into what else you wore, but I think that what you wore with the sweater was absolutely perfect. The shoes, the sneakers, do you call them, just work really well.
So we were kind of, a few weeks before I started kind of brainstorming, about like maybe like a month and a half, 2 months before I started brainstorming, I'm like, all right, what am I going to do with this photo shoot? We've got this kind of piratey theme happening, but it's also this vintage sweater pattern. I thought that trying to commit to kind of more of a pirate look would be a little cheesy, especially because like stylistically, it's the pattern. Like, yes, the pattern has skulls and crossbones, but stylistically, it's more vintage 50s. Maybe we'd call it pinup now, a bit. Not really pinup. It's not sexy. But it's cool. It's classy. It's very classy. So I was like, I think we'll lean into more of the 50s vibe, but like going out and doing stuff, like, because there's like almost not a tiki vibe exactly, but almost a tiki vibe. So really big thing out here in the US is the tiki scene, where it's kind of this return to vintage, but it's sort of fantastical, fictional island type stuff. So I'll stop digress from that. But to get back to the point is, I decided to lean into more of that 50s vibe. So I was like, all right, we're gonna try to pomp the hair a little, bring in some polka dots, and just go really simple with the rest of the outfit. Converse are timeless, so that's kind of how I came to the conclusion, is just mostly that I don't want to buy a whole new outfit, and just kind of leaning into more of the 50s vibe.
Well, I can't say name, Miniva. She says semi-beatnik, which I think is kind of the 50s thing, isn't it?
I think that was a thing. Yeah. Let me see.
I think on the next page we might have. Yeah, there's one of the other pictures. So this was there was one similar to this where you had the flag, and that was the one that I really liked. But if you imagine that picture there with the logo going down the side, it just wouldn't have looked right, you know. But I think what I liked about the pictures as well is with a little bit of cropping, you couldn't tell that it was on a beach.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, you knew that it wasn't out at sea because it had the trees behind and everything, but it worked so well. So
yeah, and I explicitly told her, like, we got to go for some wide shots so they have room to work and they'll crop as they see fit and everything.
Oh, and she did that perfectly as well. There was enough room that we could really play around with that. It was good.
Yep.
Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say the photographer is one of my good friends, Sam. She did actually go to school for art. And hi, Sam. And also, if Sam's mom is watching, because she said she might watch, hi, Sam's mom.
Yeah, hi, Sam's mom, and hi, Sam. Sam, you did a great job. Thank you. Sorry, we can't pay you.
Short notice too. So she's a lifesaver.
Well, that's kind of the thing with Block Magazine. Everybody's short notice in the end, aren't they? It's like, now we need it now. Hurry up, come on.
I'm having a diva fit. Do a photo shoot for me.
So what I thought we'd do now is just go through the magazine and talk about whatever comes up, and you know, we can go off on tangents as we see fit, and at the end we'll talk about, you know, other stuff as well. This ship thing, I've had a couple of people mention that they really like this, and I don't know where it came from. BS, the graphic designer, got this because I don't know whether she created it or whether she's got access to some kind of clip art that is there for people to use who do magazines, because I know she pays to be part of, I don't know what you call it, something publishing wise. I don't know what that is. But anyway, there we go. I did a little bit of a pirate intro there. And we have a new feature, which I need to stress we need some questions for. So we have Ms. Pearl, and Ms. Pearl, I know who she is, and she is inviting people to ask her any knitting questions that you might have. Now, she may or may not answer those questions. I don't mean that in a, we might answer, if we care. It might be somebody else that answers it, but it will always be Ms. Pearl that responds. So it'll be a case of she'll answer the one she knows for sure herself, but if something specialist comes up, we might ask somebody else to answer it as Ms. Pearl. So please send us your questions. There's an email there where you can send it directly to her as well. We have the Let Your Freak Flag Fly by Amy D. And
times fast.
Sorry, say that again.
I said, say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, it's lots of F's. So lots of F words. So basically, I think that's a little bit of a kind of a nice, well, not a nice dig, but a cheeky dig at the whole LGBT nonsense, you know, having a flag for every day of the week kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Shark Week is imminent. When does Shark Week start? Is it the 7th? Oh, it's actually there. I can't see on the screen.
July 20th.
It's on the page here somewhere.
Let's see, if you click ahead, Mama Nevin's calendar is in there, and then we'll know exactly when.
Yes, where is it? I can't even see it. It's so small. July 20th. July 20th. Yeah, so July 20th to the 27th is Shark Week. So the theme this year is music, the Shark of music. So I think, read this for sure, but you get extra points if you're watching a musical or if you're watching something to do with sharks. You get a week to do a project that you have to declare in advance. There's a form, a link there next to the politically incorrect logo there, and you can fill it in and you declare what it is you're going to knit. And then if you don't finish it within the time, you are agreeing to rip that out. And everybody gets stickers. Sorry?
Did you pick a project for it yet?
I haven't. Well, there's one I've got in the back of my mind that I have to do anyway. So I think, well, maybe it's a good thing to do. I've got to do it. But I've been putting it off, and I think it might be a good time to do it because that's all I will knit that week, you know, because you've got to get it done, haven't you? Mm-hmm. So maybe. What about yourself? Are you doing it? Are you doing one?
I want to participate. I haven't figured out what I'm gonna do yet. I kind of wasn't about the idea of combining knits and white satin with Shark Week, but now I kind of am more on board with the idea. And I mean,
well, you may as well. You may as well mix them. You know, if you
can hit Shark Week, knits and white satin, and Summer of Murder, which you could make it your Summer of Great White Shark Murder project.
Yes. Oh, what's happened there? Uh-oh.
That's it. That's all we're doing. That's all that you to see. You have to read the rest yourself.
Yeah. I don't know what went on then. That was a bit worrying. We've got a pattern here by Owenith, which is really cute. It's called actually Owenith. Is it And Hearts or And Heart? I can't remember, but there you go. It's BS, yes. You did hear your name. She's in the chat now. So it's a lovely little hat pattern, and she did the chart, a hand-drawn chart, and it was really cute. And I was going to leave the hand-drawn chart in there, and I ummed and ahed about it for a while, and I thought, no, I better do it properly, because I knew somebody would, not get it right because, one of the lines went over or whatever, you know what I mean? But there was something quite cute about that. So, yeah, the Mals. So, Mom and Nevin very kindly accepted my voluntold, where I voluntold her to keep track of all the Mals. And the only reason I asked Mom and Nevin is because I know she seemed to be keeping track of them on her YouTube channel anyway. So I thought, and she did more than I was expecting. I didn't know she was going to do the whole spreadsheet thing and keep a whole database of Mals, but I'm so glad that she did. So here I've taken some of her information that she provided. I've got a little chart there of the next 3 months, isn't it? So you can kind of see when they correspond with each other. And then on the right side, we've got like little sticky notes with the details of the make-alongs. And it should say on each one how you enter. So, for example, Mogger, Make Orange Great Again, that you enter that with a form. So the link to the form is in the memo. Knits in White Satin is also a form. But I know some of the other ones are just Instagram hashtags. So have a read through. All the information you need, the dates should be on that. Sadly, I can't read any of that because my eyesight is so shit, and looking at the screen, it just all looks like a blur to me.
It's not your eyesight. It's just teeny tiny. It's ridiculously tiny. Nobody can read
that. And then, so another Awenith, she told her villain origin story. So I'm not going to spoil any of that for you, but it's really cool. And also, she has a little tutorial within this of how to dye your own yarn. So definitely worth having a go at that. This is another, was that always like that? Is there a gap between the G and the A?
It looks like it from here.
That is so weird. And there's a gap between the N and the G. That wasn't in the original. I think something weird's happening with this.
I don't know. Ooh. Can anybody in the chat pull up the issue and tell us if that's what it looks like to them in the...
I can open it on my iPad and let's see if it's the same. I wonder whether it's because I've got it open on more than one device. Oh, no, it is the same on my iPad. Oh, well, it's like that. Deal with it, everybody. Yeah, so that's Make Orange Great Again. So that's all the rules, because obviously it's really complicated, mine. And the form that you fill in for that actually calculates how many entries that you get. It works it all out for you based on how many 50 grams of orange yarn that you use. So feel free to enter. Well, don't enter until you've finished your project, because you need to say how many grams of yarn you actually use. So there's no point doing that in advance. Liz gave us a brilliant cowl pattern. Have you seen this? The little,
cute.
Yeah, they're so good, the little motifs, and she did a really good job of taking photos of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
It really looks it looks like it's been taken on a desert island, doesn't it?
It's super adorable.
Oh, and now what is going on? See, that's weird now as well.
No, it did not. I read through
I think it's something to do with my internet, you know.
It doesn't. I can promise you, it did not look like it when I was previewing the issue yesterday.
Yeah. Right. I think it's my internet because I'm just thinking because I was looking at it on my iPad at the same time as I'm looking at it on my computer. So both of those things are connected to my internet, aren't they? So I think it must be that because this did not look like that before. So
no, it didn't. Somebody would have said something during the preview too. You know, like, are you knitting?
That page looks fine on my phone as well. So it doesn't have all that weird font thing on your page then. Yeah, the Mogger page looks fine on my phone. Yeah, don't panic, BS. I think it's something to do with my computer. I don't think. Yeah. Oh, I've lost it now. What have I done? Oh no, it's back. Here we go. Right. So this was an article. Excuse the weird font there. That isn't real. Just pretend it's not there. This was about. It's hard to explain what this is about because I think initially people thought this was about feminism, and it isn't about feminism. It's about women's rights, but think about women's rights in relation to men thinking they're women. So Annie, who wrote this, does a lot of work with Let Women Speak, which is the organisation founded by Kelly J. Keane. I think her name is, yes, Kelly J. Keane. And she kind of wrote about this in terms of knitting because we had a submission, which I will show you in a second. I'll come back to that in a sec. There was a submission where it was a tam hat. And it's all about women and witches and dinosaurs. And these are all the insults that women have been called because they know what a woman is and don't want to accept that men can become women. So I got Annie to write this as well, just to kind of put that pattern in context. Anyway, here we've got a tiny flag of South Vietnam. Now, somebody designed this, and the pair of us forgot to put a little preamble, didn't we, to sort of explain why it's there.
So I did mean to write a little blurb about it, but I was frantically knitting so hard I didn't have time.
And I forgot to even ask you to do one anyway, because I think you did say, because we asked, I remember when you first suggested it, I think I asked why, and you did say back then, so I could have probably taken what you wrote then to put in there, but I forgot completely.
Yeah, so the flag, so I am context, right? So I am half Vietnamese on my mother's side. I am first generation to be born in the United States on my mother's side. My entire mother's side of the family came over from Vietnam as war refugees from the war. Most of them made it over in 1975 before the fall of Saigon. Some of them, my grandmother, my aunt, and an uncle actually didn't come until about 15-ish years later because my uncle was actually taken prisoner by the communists in Vietnam because he was fighting against them. And so I had actually already made this pattern and I thought about it. I was like, oh, this would be perfect in the magazine. And I just kind of fleshed out my pattern a little bit more. But here in the United States, a lot of Vietnamese Americans still fly that flag because it's sort of the last flag of freedom in Vietnam, I guess you could say. I don't.
So like, was this was this the pre-communist flag?
Mm-hmm. This is the pre-communist flag. So now it's kind of called. Well, I think it's. So I don't speak for all Vietnamese Americans, so I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there, especially because I'm only half an American born and everything, but it was the flag of Southern Vietnam before the communists took over. Don't quote me on the history too hard, but
this is interesting to me because somebody who's got Vietnamese ancestry and also other places, not just China and Russia, well, USSR, Poland, places like that, where the memory of communism is either still there or only one or two generations in the past. people there, I feel like they're being sidelined and nobody's listening to their voices as to take the warning of what might happen, because there is such a big resurgence in communism amongst the young
100%.
across the West, and it's really scary because if you look at the history of how communism starts in each of these countries, it's horrific what happens. I mean, not even to mention the starvation that always follows, but the way they take over and what they do to people in that interim period. It's so you must have so many stories from family members of what went on.
So when I was younger, most of them really would not talk about it. What I did know was that my family had a few hours to collect what they could and then just get on a plane and get out of the country. So they literally had, I don't know, like maybe 2-3 hours. Accounts are a little different from different family members, but yeah, they really didn't have a lot of time to plan it out. My aunt that stayed behind did recently share a few more stories with me. Like, she told me about how after my main family left, she stayed behind with my grandmother to look for my uncle, who was already missing in action at that point, and that they had to take all the family photo albums, all of the documents attached to the family. They had to burn everything. Anything that would prove that it had been more than just the three of them living there, because they would have been, like, they personally would have suffered consequences, and anybody who knew them, because they're traitors.
And what was the reception like to? I mean, because I was alive then when because they called them the Vietnamese boat people, didn't they? I'm sure that's offensive now, but that is how I remember what people were called. But how were they accepted or not by people at the time?
So I haven't had my family talk about that too much. My family was actually one of the lucky people that got a little American nepotism and got out on planes early.
Right.
So, like, I don't want to misquote the family history because the internet is forever, but I do know that they were lucky enough to get out on planes beforehand. So,
yeah, because I know people who might hate watch will know that I have a real issue with the people coming over to my country on boats. But the thing, whereas I would have sympathy for the people who are coming over to escape communism, I have every sympathy for that. But where my issue is with these people coming here is that they're not escaping anything. They're coming here because they want to come here for economic reasons. They're not in any danger in the country where they've come from, and that's why I have an issue with that. Whereas if there's a regime that is going to kill you or going to torture you or whatever, I would allow you in. I would. I think it's really interesting that because I wonder how many of these people currently that are coming over our borders, because it's happening everywhere in the West, isn't it? Whether they've looked at past cases and they've thought, well, if we pretend we are like the Vietnamese on that day, or we pretend we're like, I don't know, people from Rwanda or wherever, I can't even think of anywhere now, where they have had to escape, whether they'll just get away with it. I don't know whether that's so hopefully that kind of explains why that is there. So it's kind of it's almost like an anti-communism thing as well, isn't it? Your flag,
Some would consider it an anti-communism dog whistle, which is why I have about 8 PVC patches of it on, like, pretty much everything, like jackets, backpacks, everything ever. So, but if anyone wants to complain about it, it's my heritage. So, fuck you.
Yeah, and if any of us steal it, we'll be culturally appropriating you, won't we? So,
also, fun fact, Joe Biden was one of 3 senators to vote against bringing the refugees over.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, they won't want to talk about that now, will they?
And Vietnamese Americans that are older, they didn't forget.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I wonder how many young Americans even know the story of what happened there. You know, because the whole Vietnam War thing is I mean, people listening now, obviously Americans know a hell of a lot more about it than I would, but it is a crazy story, isn't it? The whole war, the Vietnam War.
I've only heard snippets of it. Like even to this day, some of my family won't really talk about it too much, and I've really encouraged them to talk about it because I think because I understand a little bit of my familial history, like I appreciate being an American citizen that much more.
Yeah. Well, your family not necessarily wanting to talk about it, that's completely understandable, isn't it? Because it is a traumatic experience. And you know, when you have these people saying, "Oh, I'm triggered," it's like, yeah, you're so triggered you can talk about it. Whereas somebody who is genuinely gone through trauma, because I have, well, I don't now, they've died now, but I had relatives that were in World War II, and one of them was a motorcyclist who used to have to go through occupied land, and they'd have Nazis literally firing at him as he was on this motorbike, and he only ever spoke about that, as far as I know, once, because he was so traumatized by it. And I had another uncle, great uncle, who was in the Navy, and I think his ship was torpedoed, and he was one of the people that survived being in the water. And I don't know, he would never talk about it, but he shook from that day to the day he died. He just couldn't stop shaking. So you can understand why they don't talk about it.
Yeah,
because it's real, isn't it? It's something real. Whereas a lot of our problems, kind of in comparison, are nothing, are they? They're just inconveniences. A lot of our problems, really. Well,
kind of that first world problems issue.
Yeah, apart from when you're knitting a test knit for Block Magazine, then that's a real problem. That's definitely, you must have PTSD after that.
I will be sending you my therapy bills.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a real address. Honestly, I'll give you a real address for that. Walter Bird, my husband's grandfather was in World War II, and he wouldn't talk about it either. I think that's when you get these people that pretend they were soldiers, it's a lot more common than you'd expect.
Stolen valor. That's what we call it.
And they can't stop talking about stuff that, and I don't know how they seem to be very clever in the sense that they know a lot of information, but they can't stop talking about it. Whereas real people who have done these things just don't want to. And Miniver says, my parents and grandparents wouldn't talk about the war either. Yeah. And also I think there was a case, if you think about it as well, I'm sure it's like, it's over now. We don't want to dwell on it. We're looking to the future. We went through that, and why talk about it now? I think there's a lot of that as well. Anyway, this went a bit dark, didn't it? So
you know what? It was bound to. I'm here. We're gonna get. I mean, like I've been restraining the dark humor.
Oh, let loose! Don't worry. Here we have some stitching term definitions mansplained. Yeah, and it's still looking weird. So again, it's still my computer, everybody.
I got to read this, and I was cracking up yesterday.
Well, what I really loved is I didn't tell either of them that I'd asked the other to do this. So I sent them both. So it's Pirate Tomsky and Adam, and they always tend to watch. I don't think either of them's watching today, though, funnily enough. They usually do. And
I feel so scorned by them. Gosh.
Yeah. And obviously it was only prompted because of Pirate Tomsky's name, because I thought, oh, pirate issue, I'll get Pirate Tomsky to do something. But so I gave them the same questions, and every single answer was completely different. There was a couple of themes that were the same, but I have a go with your own non-knitting family. Ask them what some of these things are, because this is going to be a regular thing now, where we're going to try and do it slightly different each issue for as long as we can, because it's going to run out of terms.
We're going to run out of men too. So I mean, there's no reason you can't use the same set of terms with a different set of men.
True, but will that get boring for readers? I don't know, because one of the other things we're doing, I think Amy's getting her men to do this, but with her, I've sent her a load of images. So I've sent her images of tools that are used for knitting and crochet, because there's a lot of weird ones out there, just to see what they think they are and to give them a name, to name them as well. So I think that'll be quite fun.
I'm gonna admit, like, some of the terms on there I didn't even know looking through it.
Oh, which one? Which ones did you not know?
Oh gosh, I don't remember off the top of my head because
Was it
I don't.
Nostopin? I don't even know how you say it. Is it
I knew what a
Nostopini or
nostopin
Nostopin?
was. That's that ball winder dealio, right? To hand wind.
Yeah, it's like a big stick, isn't it? And
There
it's so you can do a skein from it, hand wound.
there were a couple on there that I did not recognize. It's like probably techniques, I'm guessing. I should have looked them. I was on a lunch break, so I didn't have enough time to look them up. It was a lunch break from work.
I did consider putting the real ones, the real terms afterwards, and I thought, no, I'm not going to, because I think it's funnier this way. And then people can look it up, can't they? We knitters know where we can find this information. We can, so it's not like anybody who needs to know won't get to find out. But yeah, I love this. I thought it was so, because I know from my own friends, when I mention things, they look at me like I'm stupid.
Oh yeah. I will see if I can lure my significant other into filling out his own set of answers.
Yes, please do. Yeah, because we can put that in. I tell you what, I didn't do this issue. I completely left my head, was to do the interview with, because I try and do a staff interview, and a reader interview, and I just didn't even remember. Really, this issue, I think I was so focused on certain things like the sweater and different parts of this that I completely forgot some of our reports that we normally do.
I feel like this was a really jam-packed issue, though.
Yeah, a few people have said that there's a lot of stuff in this, and there is. I think it's because sometimes the themes really open up for a lot of things. So hoist the colours. You could have done anything like this. Katie, who does our book reviews, she was able to do colour work book reviews just because of the fact that it was about colour. If you start I did look for information about pirates knitting, because I like to look at old news things, and I couldn't find anything. I could find things about the socks that they used to wear that were knitted, and I thought this was quite is it interesting? I don't know. But one of the things is, why did pirates wear stripy socks? Because they wore stripy socks, and I found out that the reason behind that was because only rich people could afford to have socks with different colours in it, and because they were pirates, they often stole the expensive clothes off people.
Exactly.
So and it was a status symbol. So if you had stripy, different coloured socks, you had the money for the yarn and the dye and so on. So anyway, yes. So Katie did these book reviews. She did. I think there's 3 or 4 that she did. Katie, I love Katie's reviews because they're so good, and she's a joy to have as a writer for a magazine, because she just does it. Like I never have to ask her, deadline coming up. It's just done, and it's usually the first thing that's finished every issue. So thank you, Katie. You're brilliant to work with.
I have to say, like we have such talented people in this group. Like some of these articles that I've read, we just man, these people, they're talented writers, they're talented designers, and I just kind of have to sit back and marvel sometimes at
it is. I mean, I get shocked
they do,
because we get people who send in things, and I think they're always a bit nervous about their English, but half the time, it's absolutely perfect. I mean, we have proofreaders as well, and the things that get proofed are usually it's me, because I'm writing in British English, so I forget about the U in colour and things like that. I'm always forgetting, and there's a lot of things. It's surprising how many differences there are between British and American English, even to the point of punctuation. So, for example, sorry, I don't know if this is interesting for people, but if you write down what somebody has said. So if I quoted you in American English, you would put the period, the full stop, as we would call it, inside the speech marks, whereas we would put that on the outside of the speech marks. And why, I don't know. It's kind of strange, but little things like that as well. So it's usually my stuff that is the stuff that takes the longest to do.
Do you pull out your old teacher's red pen?
I have done. Well, I've done the red on the screen. I have done that. Yeah. And we had this word game was submitted because normally Sezi does our word things, and this time we had a couple of people. We had one person send a couple of them in, so Sezi didn't have to do it this time round. So we got a dissident. Not going to tell you what that is. And adverts. Oh, and look at that. We've got more of you. Ta-da! So that's the other picture that I really loved. That, but it couldn't have been a cover, but it would have been good as a cover.
We did so many shots to try to get the waves crashing in the background. Like we had to take breaks periodically because I was like, oh my Lord, my eyes are watering because I'm just staring into the sun.
There's one set of photos where I did laugh out loud. Not at you, well, at you, kind of. But it was like there was a whole set of photos beforehand where you were doing this particular pose. And then there was these photos where it looked like you'd just given up. And you were just sat down as if to say, I can't do anymore.
You know, I have to say, after doing that, I was like, I feel like I have a lot more respect for models. You would not think that sitting in the same position for like 5 to 10 minutes at a time would be difficult, but it's much more difficult than you think it's gonna be.
It is hard, isn't it? Because I've done it very briefly for a couple of things, but it's you become very self-conscious. Well, I did. I became very self-conscious of every movement that I made. Suddenly, you move in a weird way. You know, you don't walk in a normal way anymore. You know, and it's like you become hyper aware of every little aspect of what you're doing. You know, am I looking at the right thing? Am I smiling the right way? You know, so yeah, and the standing still. Yeah, I get you. It's quite. How many hours did you spend doing this as well? You were there for a while, weren't you?
We actually only spent about 2 hours on it before we started to lose light around like 8 to 8:15. So we did it literally the weekend before. We literally did it the weekend it was due. So,
right.
Because we were knitting. I was knitting until the last second, really. I didn't even get to block it. I still haven't blocked it. It's not quite a 50-50 blend of merino and acrylic, but it's almost. And I don't know if I should steam it or wet block it. I mean, I guess if it makes sense to try to wet block it first, and then if it doesn't work out, then just
didn't you do a swatch afterwards as well, though? Didn't you reknit a swatch to test what would happen when you washed it?
So I did do a swatch because the hope was that I could shrink the sweater some. So now we're going there. We're getting there. So to quote Liz, gauge swatches lie. So when I made the gauge swatch, so the gauge given in the pattern in the magazine is the original swatch I did. Later on, after I finished the sweater, because why wouldn't you wait until the end of the sweater, right? I measured it out, and my gauge was significantly bigger. I think because I did my swatch in a solid color, and I did the sweater with color work. I think trying to keep my color work nice and loose so it wasn't pulling, I ended up with kind of a much larger gauge. So it really...
So two things happened, didn't it? So one, you were nervous of what size to knit anyway in the first instance. So you went for a bigger size than you probably needed to.
Yes.
Plus, your gauge ended up not being your own gauge. So what I would say to other people is if you are going to knit this, if you get the gauge that is actually written in the pattern, the piece will be the right size. And so if you'd have got the right gauge, your own gauge, it would have been much smaller, wouldn't it?
Also, pro tip, the sweater is stretchy and roomier than you think. So I was concerned that I was worried it wasn't going to be roomy. So I was like, we better err on the side of caution and go a little larger. we probably, if we had gone smaller, it probably would have been totally fine, even if I had hit gauge, honestly.
It's a funny, with this dolman thing. I mean, anybody out there with more experience of dolmens will probably correct me if I'm wrong here, but we did the measurement that was the key measurement. Usually it's your chest measurement, isn't it? Your bust measurement. But we kind of went with the hip measurement, because the thing is with the dolman, somebody who's got a big bust or whatever, it's going to be accommodated within that sleeve. So it was, because I know you were worried about that yourself, and it's how much does it accommodate? You know what I mean? Because it's so hard to work that measurement out on paper before you've actually created the piece.
It's kind of a bat wing, really. So you've got so much room in there. So really, it was, we just went, we just kind of defaulted to the biggest measurement. So we went with the hips for that, and really it just ended everything I just aired on the side of caution. It just ended up ginormous.
So if you were, well, you're probably never going to knit that again, because it's kind of been a bit of a love-hate relationship, hasn't it? But if you were going to knit it again, I think you said you would probably make it in fingering, didn't you?
Because, like, why not make it even more ridiculous?
Yeah, make it twice as hard, twice as long to do.
The only reason I say fingering is I would still commit to the Ladderback Jacquard for this sweater, because there's so much color work, and the Ladderback Jacquard is seriously just, I mean, granted, I'm inexperienced, but I think that it's a very, very clean way to do the color work, and I would probably still commit to that. But I think fingering would be so much lighter. So you don't feel like you're wearing two sweaters at the same time.
Yeah, because it is a double knit sweater in effect, isn't it? Double layered. It's like brioche or proper double knit. It's 2 layers. So what we did with the pattern is we had a day. I spent a day with Annie. When I say with Annie, online with Annie Robinson. She does tech editing as well, and she's also a seamstress, so she knows a lot about sizing things up and down. And she said that I'd actually got it right, because I got her to look at the image on the right of the screen there, it's sideways. But she said that the only thing she said she might have done differently herself was where I've graded the sleeve, she might have done that a little bit narrower for the bigger sizes. But when you look at the original image, it's kind of balloons out anyway, and then you've got the quite tight cuff, haven't you? So I kind of thought, well, will that really matter? You know, I did have that conversation with myself, and I thought, I'm just going to go with what I think it will be. But I think it worked.
I would have liked it if my sleeves, I would have liked it if they were a stronger taper, like where if it had snugged up at the wrist and then maybe angled out a little more dramatically into the. So I did the cuffs as snug as I could to really just pull it in, because I would say that the cuff ended up probably about twice the width of my actual wrist. So I'd say like it ended up about here on me, and it was
what huge. You could do is, if you're following the pattern from the chart, it would be really easy on one of the bigger sizes to follow the chart where you do the decreases and so on. Sorry, the increases to do the dolman sleeve, but then keep going up to one of the smaller sizes rather than, I think the thing with having it visually like that, you can actually see where you could play with that. Whereas when it's all written out, as in, knit one, make one, whatever, you can't really see how you would do that. So what we did with this is we had the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links here are just that chart on the right, but over different amounts of pages. So I think the first one is over 4 pages. The last one is over 25 pages. So it's exactly the same pattern, but you could print it, as many times, in as many pieces as you want, and then put it together so you can read it easier. So it's up to you how you would have it. Because I think you had yours in the end. The chart was on a big board, wasn't it? I think you said.
Yeah. So I am fortunate enough that I work with engineers, and I have a very large scale printer available to me. I believe it can do 44 inches wide, and then your roll is kind of just continuous as long as you want. So I think my pattern ended up being like maybe like 2 feet by 3 feet.
Wow.
Something like so I had to go and get like a really big art clipboard, and like the pattern was kind of still hanging off of it, and I was just hanging out with a magnifying glass.
You should put it up on the wall, or do you know? Or will you have nightmares about it if you see it all the time?
I don't think there's any wall space available. You've seen my shame. There's no wall space.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't. Just before I forget as well, the two skulls here on the left side of the page there. Well, it's on the right side of the page, the left page. Getting the left and right mixed up. That's the stitch repeat, but I don't think we actually wrote underneath it that it's the stitch repeat. So that helps you as well to know if there's ever, if there's any errors, because you found a couple of places where we've got a wrong color, tiny things, weren't they? But if you need to check, that's where you can check it against, and then you'll know what it should be. And I think, so we only have one written pattern in the end, and that was the size that you made yourself. Because I kind of feel with this particular pattern, I think the image makes it easier to understand it rather than seeing it written down. Written down, it was very complicated, because it's different colors. You've got to knit 5 red, 2 white, and so on. I don't know. What did you think?
I predominantly used the written pattern, and when something seemed off, then I referenced the graph.
Right. I suppose it depends because I love graphs more. So maybe that's just my thing, maybe just, how you like it yourself, I suppose. But there we go. The reason why I changed the title as well. So originally it was called Sailor Beware, but I realized that there's, I don't know whether if we still called it Sailor Beware, whether that would infringe the copyright. So the thing about this pattern is that the way I've presented it as well is all completely new. None of the things like the charts were in the original. The original was just one written pattern. So as far as I'm concerned, the actual shape of that and everything about it is mine now. It's a bit dubious as to whether the motif is, and whether that's still in copyright, I don't know. But we're not making money from this. It's already out there in the wild anyway. So, there
are actually people selling the pattern on Etsy too. Like,
I've seen a couple of people. Cheeky. That's cheeky, isn't it?
I cannot even tell you how offended I was to find it on Etsy. I was like, this is for free on Pinterest, and it's from 1957. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure you don't own the magazine. Like, you're going to sell it. Anyway.
Well, the funny thing about that particular magazine as well, you can find other Pins and Needles magazines around that era that are online, or you can order them, whatever, but you can't get hold of that issue. Or so far, I haven't been able to find it.
I tried finding it too. I couldn't find it either.
Yeah. So really, this pattern would end up lost, and no one would ever see it. And even if you only ever use the motifs from it, on another pattern of your own, I just think it's a really cute pattern. There's something quite striking about it, isn't there? So anyway, so that was Sailor Beware. So now this is
Sailor Be Wary.
Be wary.
Sailor Be Wary.
Yeah, I should know.
Be wary of your gauge.
Yeah, be wary of your measurements. Yes. This is things are still looking weird on the screen, aren't they? Melody has done this really cool, how can we put it, recipe. So it's dead simple, and it's so obvious, and it's like, why have we not done this before? So she's come up with a way of creating this T-shirt that you can see the image there, where you're literally just knitting 2 rectangles based on your own measurements. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail about the measurements in a future issue, where we'll have like some little squares with recommended measurements on. But she's going to try and create a different pattern based on this recipe for every issue, I think. She might not have said every issue, so don't quote me on that because I might be giving her extra work there that she didn't intend. But she is going to do some regular ones, and I think it's really kind of cute. It works. It's so simple, and you would easily be able to add features to that, like a ribbed edging, cuff, and sleeves, and so on, or make the sleeves longer yourself. I don't think you'd need much garment knowledge to be able to do that. And she did this sweater, well, this t-shirt in it's Chicken Lady Fiber Arts, and it's her Patriot collection. Mm-hmm. So it's a really good example of how you can use that set of minis. Because I've got 3 sets of those minis, and I don't know. Well, I've got an idea of what I want to do with it, but seeing it go from red to blue, I kind of get a better idea of what it is I can do with it. So, so it's quite cool. So keep watching that. And Annie, a Stitch in the Skies, joined us just in time for the pattern. So Annie tested this pattern for me. So this is the Astro Turf mitts. So turf is the insult that trans people call anybody who knows what a woman is, basically. It stands for trans exclusionary radical feminist, which is a right load of nonsense. So we did these mitts. So it's just, I mean, a couple of people said, oh, it's like the Black Power thing, and it kind of is. I know that, but it's the female symbol, and the colours behind it, the green, purple, and white are the colours of the suffragette movement, which has kind of been taken on board by the Let Women Speak movement as well. I think Annie will be telling me, no, that's not right. Hopefully it's right. So Annie did a whole cool set of photos where she was in the boxing gym, so I thought that was quite apt for that particular pattern. There's the charts for that. So if you didn't want the Black Power bit, it would be really easy to just replace, use the small female symbols on both sides of the mitt if you chose to do it that way.
Just kind of continue the stripes through instead of doing the fist or something.
Yeah. Because I know some people just have a bit of a thing about that because of the link to other things. But I like it. Another dissident, so I did 2 this month. And then this is the tam that I was telling you about before. So this is, again, she's got the fist there as well. So that's probably where I got the idea to do mine from there. So it's a dinosaur, a witch, and the woman, but that's represents the woman. So these are all the insults that women are called by trans people. I don't know that it's trans people particularly, but some of them do.
Never heard dinosaur before. What the heck is that?
I think it's just to say, you're an old dinosaur. You're still living in the past when women knew what other women were and things like that. I think it's that kind of thing. I think it might be a British insult because I've heard it. If you're in the workplace, if you're getting a bit older, like when I'm teaching, people are, they're like a dinosaur. They're still, doing it like in the, the 70s or whatever.
Okay.
I think that's where that comes from, I think. So it's quite a cool tam. And the other good thing about some of these is that you can replace things. You don't have to have the words if you don't want to have the words. It'd be really easy to change that for something else that you want.
Did you lure someone else into doing Ladderback Jacquard?
No, well, this lady who designed this, she'd actually created this pattern herself, and she contacted me and asked me whether she could put it in the magazine. So all of this, so it was a bit of again, this was me having my eye off the ball. She sent me the PDF, and it was all done, and it was all formatted like this. And we put it in and just thought, it'll be fine. And BS and I had this conversation. But then we realized there were some things in it that we didn't like. So the way she'd done the inverted commas were kind of weird. So, like I would put inverted commas high up. Mm-hmm. She has one low down and then the other one high up. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a European thing, but it's definitely not a British or an American thing. And there was just a few little things like that the proofers saw, but it was too late at that point because it would have been so much work to try and replicate what she'd created here. So she did all of this and just sent it to me and asked me if I'd put it in. So I didn't ask. So it's nothing to do with me, this one at all.
If you flip back a page, like it's, I don't know if it's just regular stranded or is that Ladderback Jacquard as well?
Yeah, it's Ladderback Jacquard. Never noticed that. I never noticed.
I just thought you lured more people into doing it because, like, every time
No.
we're in chat, you're like, "Oh man, you should try Ladderback Jacquard. It'd be so cool."
I remember reading it at the time because she sent me this pattern. Oh, it was winter because the photos that she took were in snow. So it's been in the back burner. It's been ready in the folder for like 6 months. So I must have just forgotten about that being there. But I'm quite pleased because that's kind of, it fits the whole theme of the magazine, doesn't it? So if there's a really good, it is a good explanation. I'm just thinking back now. I haven't read it for a while now, but if you read that explanation, it'll help you with the other pattern as well. Shows you how to block it as well. I think that's a plate and a glass, I think. And podcasts and adverts and answers. You don't want to look at that. And then we've got our upcoming issues. So the next issue is the Cat Amongst the Pigeons issue. And that's apparently that's not an American saying. Do you know that saying?
Which saying? I'm sorry?
Cat Amongst the Pigeons.
Oh yeah, no, I had never heard of that before. You had to kind of explain the meaning.
Oh right, so in Britain, it's a very common saying. So if somebody causes any kind of trouble, and it can be serious trouble, or it can just be a bit of something silly, you just say, "Oh, that throws the cat amongst the pigeons." Because if you threw a cat amongst where all the pigeons were, they would all go crazy and fly off. So, so the idea behind this issue is basically trouble causing. I mean, why that would have anything to do with Block Magazine, I don't know, but I'm sure somebody.
I can't imagine.
But cats, birds, anything like that, fur, feathers, anything like that will work really well for that issue. Then the issue after will be 1984, which is, again, can be interpreted any way you want. So it can be 1984 fashions, 1984 music, or the book 1984 by George Orwell, which is what most people so far have been interpreting. Then we have our end of year issue, which is now going to be the Festivus one. It's going to be an annual thing. So it's Festivus for the rest of us. So basically anything to do with Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is you like to do with that time of year.
Happy and then we have Kwanzaa.
Yeah, don't mention Kwanzaa. And then the first issue of 2026 is the Bigfoot issue. So that is going to be a great issue for socks and fluffy things, and I don't know what else we could have there. Maybe even size inclusive stuff if we want to go down that route. Who knows? But so I'm taking submissions for all of those now. The Cat Amongst the Pigeons one is going to come around much sooner than you think, because that's going to be the 15th of August. So it's literally a month. We've only got a month for that one.
Yeah.
And there we go. So that was issue 21. Whew. So I've got sun right in my eyes now.
Right. How do you like your retinas getting burned out?
Yeah, it's divine retribution, isn't it? Right, I'm going to have a quick look at some of the comments that we've had come in. So
I have not been able to see any of them because my camera is completely blocking where the comments are coming up.
So Emily said, yes, that's big of you. I think she's talking there about the British English versus American English there, I think. And she gets confused between the two and which she's supposed to. Yeah. So Emily is one of our proofreaders. So all I would say there is, if it's an American that's written it, then keep it American. If it's an article, a piece that like an opinion piece, then keep it in the language of the writer. But if I've written it and it's a pattern or an article, put it in American, because that makes sense.
I would say, like, if it's a crochet pattern for me, I prefer it in US terms. If it's just a piece of writing literature, I don't know. I kind of just automatically convert it in my mind. I don't really think too much of it. Like, I might
it's easy.
I'm like, oh, British, okay.
Yeah, a crochet pattern is so different, isn't it? But I'm lucky. Well, luckily, it's not that I'm lucky, but luckily for the magazine, I crochet in American. So I like to say I'm bilingual, a bilingual crochet.
We'll get you over here yet, Neil. You're already crocheting in American. You're halfway there, right?
Yeah, that exactly. I'm fluent.
We just need to marry you off to like Tina or Anne. It'll be great. Get you over here.
There's a big long list, isn't there? So Owenith is admitting to liking a good finger in. And Annie says, I think she's talking about, which pattern are you talking about there? I think she's talking about the school sweater. The Sailor Beware. Yeah, Sailor Beware. Yeah, I keep saying beware, don't I? And I think...
I know Anne had talked about some. I just keep volunteering Anne for things. I'm like, Anne, do the sweater. Anne, marry Neil. Anne, make dolman sleeves in the round. Like, I just keep volunteering her. Like, we are not even close enough for me to be volunteering her.
I think Anne has very gently put her foot down about not marrying anybody. I think she said no to that one. I think. Why ever not? I don't know.
It just shows how much faith I have in Anne's abilities. That's all.
Well, they have a thing, don't they? South Dakota, they don't want anybody else to ever go to South Dakota. So that would involve me having to move to South Dakota, you see. And they do not want outsiders. They want to keep it to themselves.
I feel like that's a thing in general now. I'm just like, oh my gosh, just don't come here. Get out of here.
And Owenith says, I may already be promised to a different Brit. Sorry. I might have to say this. Well, could we not do who are the people that have more than one spouse in America? There's a few of them, isn't there?
Mormons?
Is it the Mormons? We'll have to go to Utah. Minerva says Victorian British patterns, I think she means crochet, will drive you to drink. Yeah, does anybody watch Vintage Crochet? Do you watch that lady who does that?
I've been meaning to. I have stuff bookmarked in my save to watch later, and then I actually never get to later to watch it.
Oh, you should. She's quite fun actually, because she does old patterns and they're kind of blind, as in she gets her son to take away the photograph and he blacks out anything that gives an idea of what the thing is. You know?
I'm still trying to get caught up on everybody else's podcast. So I am completely caught up on Politically Incorrect Knitters because they're actually my gateway drug into this illicit world of knitting, conservative knitters. So that's a funny story too. I came across the Emma in the Moment slam piece on them, and she's just like, "Oh, these conservative knitters." I'm all like, "Well, they're conservative knitters, son of a bitch, I'm in."
So we've got a lot to thank her for then.
I know.
Because wasn't she sneery and horrible when she did that? You know, it was so unnecessary.
Emma is probably responsible for like a quarter of Politically Incorrect Knitters followers.
Well, I think she makes a big point of always saying, don't go there, don't give them any viewers and things like that. And it's like, oh, come on, if you're going to talk about people, you've got to expect people to go there. And
I just kept saying, like, don't watch these people and don't watch I'm like making a list. I'm all like, oh, I'm looking these people up.
Well, she's promised to do one on me. This must be 2 years nearly, but she's not done it. So I have a theory. Well, it's either that there's so much stuff that she hasn't been able to put it all together to put it into a format she can air yet, or she just hasn't found what she wanted to find. Because I think the thing is, how they say I'm racist and I'm evil and all that. It's like, I think it's quite hard to find anything, the fact that there are 21 issues out there, there's plenty of stuff they could use, presumably. I think she knows that none of us are as bad as they make out. You know what I mean?
How dare you post photos of the things people said without altering them?
I know. That's so hateful of me, isn't it?
How hateful that you just show what they said without altering it at all.
Right. I'm moving in. When can I move in? What day? Is the bed made? I'm on my way. Right. Somebody said I had to drop a lot of knitting channels on YouTube after the Trump win when they made it clear my sort aren't welcome. Yeah, it was so unnecessary and pointless, wasn't it? Because it's like, how does that help anything to say, you know, people aren't welcome just because of who they voted for? It's that arrogance that they are right and everyone else is wrong. I don't get that. Because the thing is now, you know, I'm quite happy to say with Donald Trump and with people like Nigel Farage in the UK that I like X amount of what they say and I dislike X amount of what they say. Whereas people seem to be, when they're on the left, I mean, I'm generalizing, but they seem to be all in or all out. There doesn't seem to be any kind of nuance of, do you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain that, but
I mean, I don't know. I feel like people are too quick to just throw in their lot, like I'm this or I'm that, and there's this intense need to put a label onto themselves and define themselves, and I'm just kind of more of a like, you know, I just kind of call it as I see it.
Well, know? If you were a lefty, would you be classed as a person of color?
I don't even know. Like, people are really confused by me. White. I'm about to get a little politically incorrect. Can you imagine?
Yay!
So like, white people are like, you're some kind of ethnic. Asian people are like, you're some kind of white. The only people who really are just other half Asians are like, are you half Asian too? And I'm like, yes, I am. Are you also half Asian? Yes, I am. And just, how is it living in this confusing world where you belong to both sides, yet you belong to neither side? And so I think other half and halves are the only ones who really understand this.
It's so funny though that because there's Yelly, I think she's called. Is it Yelly Knits? I don't know what her ethnicity makeup is, but I think somewhere along the line it's some form of Asian descent of some kind. I don't know, but she is absolutely a person of color. You know what I mean? She holds that banner and waves it, and I think it's quite interesting that you could do that. You couldn't, if you wanted to. If you were a lefty, you could say, I'm a person of color because of your ethnicity.
Yeah, I mean, there's... Here's the thing is, you know, I think who you were born as doesn't matter. It really comes down to who you choose to be. And, you know, I always refer to myself as just an equal opportunity hater. I don't hate you for who you were born as. I hate you for who you choose to be.
Yeah.
Equal opportunity hater.
Oh, I just hate you because you exist. I hate everybody.
I just hate you because you're a dick, not because you are X, Y, or Z ethnicity or skin color. I don't really give a flying fuck about that. It's that you are a raging dick all the time, and that's why I don't like you.
I just find it fascinating how different people can either find it the most important thing about themselves or almost the least important thing about themselves. You know what I mean? It's like clearly it's part of your heritage, but it's not who you are as such. You know, it's not.
Well, also, like, people just make these assumptions based off skin color, and it's ridiculous. Like, there's this Instagram post going around of this girl who's some kind of athlete, right? And she was wearing a traditional Vietnamese dress, but they had done it in kind of like a jersey knit sporty material, right? And the girl looks like she's probably half black, half Asian, but she looked more black than Asian. And people in the comments were just like, oh, like, that's cultural appropriation and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, oh, that's disrespectful for that girl to be wearing that. And just like these kind of comments. And these other people are chiming in and they're like, hey, asshats, she's Vietnamese. She's born and raised in Vietnam. And you're just making assumptions because she looks more black than Asian. You know, it's just people stop making assumptions about what people's lives and experiences and who they are based on their skin color. It's so stupid.
In Ireland at the moment, because there's been a huge amount of people from Africa have moved into Ireland, like we're talking millions, and they've started doing these adverts over there where they're teaching people how they're supposed to be. So it's a girl at school, and she's talking to this new black African girl who's now at the school, and this black African has got the braids, whatever they're called, cane rolls, corn rolls, whatever they're called. And the girl said, "Oh, I really like your braids." And she said, "Oh, I'd like to have them." And then it's all this whole, "Oh, no, but you can't. That would be cultural appropriation because this is part of my culture." And then the Irish girl goes, "Oh, thank you for telling me. I made a mistake. And I've learned from that." And meanwhile, they're wearing Irish clothes, going to the Irish pub, drinking Irish booze. It's like, well, who's culturally appropriating what exactly? Oh, Amy's here. Still live? Does that mean you've got to rewind?
You see here. Amy, you just got here. I don't even know how long we've been going. I don't know.
1 hour 46.
Oh, that's it. I've seen you and Tabitha go like 3 hours.
Well, I do try really hard now not to go over the 2 hour mark. I'd like to keep lives down to an hour if I could, but I just can't do it. There's,
Well, to be fair, we went through a whole issue and everything too. So, there's a lot. There was a lot to unpack in that issue. That was a really jam-packed one.
Well, before I forget to ask you this, what else about you do you want all the knitters to know? That's
I don't know.
Question, isn't
it? To go back to my my reader interview, just nothing. Actually, no. The question was how do people find you? And I'm like, I don't want people to find me.
Yeah, Cassie wants to lurk on all of our profiles, but she doesn't want anyone to lurk on hers. There's a reason I'm a professional
lurker. No, I don't know. I guess I'm just I'm kind of just. I figure I don't know. I mean, you sort of just assume that you're just kind of the average crafter and everything. I historically was not super socially involved in crafting, so like I've been a member of Ravelry probably since like maybe 2009, 2010, and pretty much when I first joined, I'm like, oh wow, there's all these groups, great, cool. I'm going to join all these groups, and then I'm never going to look at them ever again. And so pretty much I just go get my patterns and leave. That's kind of how I always been. So it's like when all the Ravelry stuff happened, I wasn't really aware of it because I wasn't involved socially speaking. And also same thing with like social media. Like it didn't really occur to me that I could follow people for knitting or crocheting on YouTube until probably a little more recently. Like I mostly went to YouTube for tutorials, and it didn't occur to me that people were just vlogging about knitting and crocheting. It was just like, sweet, how do I do a make one left or make one right? Or, that just like kind of techniques I wasn't 100% certain about. So I didn't really get involved socially really until recently, like a couple years ago when I found PIK.
Well, when did I first become aware of you? Because you joined you were on a private chat that I had, weren't you? And that's when I knew you before then, didn't I? But when
was it? Remember. Maybe when did DK do one of her Patreon meetups? Or was it before that?
It might have been that, but I think we chatted like text, chatted on Instagram or something. I don't know, but I can't really remember.
I might have just like started aggressively commenting on YouTube videos. Honestly, that's kind of that's kind of what I did with DK and Ann, where it just, I'm like, oh, sweet. And it's like after watching maybe the first year's worth of episodes in a matter of like 3 to 4 months. Actually, it might have been even less than that. I think I went through 3 years in like 4 to 6 months
Wow.
of content. Where like I just,
Wow.
and so I think about a year of their content in, I started commenting more. And that's probably what I did is I probably found you through Knitting Wars, and then probably just started aggressively commenting on your YouTube channels as well.
Because it's funny how some people kind of, don't want to say appear, but some people sort of come on your radar, but then it's like they've always been there. And you are one of those people. It's like I don't really remember when you weren't part of our group, kind of thing. You know, not that it sounds like we're a cult, doesn't it? But you know what I mean.
Just I call it the group that we kind of have, right? Yeah, I mean, I kind of just often liken my personality to like that of a golden retriever puppy. I'm way overexcited to see you. I am probably up in your personal space a little too much, and I'm also extremely food motivated.
Love it. Perfect. You're going to have to start going on knit night. You'll have to.
Liz actually had invited me, and I told her I promised you that we would interview about the sweater first. And I was like,
oh, you didn't have to do that. You could have got on there first. It didn't matter.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's been a lot of chaos that sort of made the sweater a little more of a tribulation than it needed to be. There's just some home life stuff going on. My significant other and I take care of his grandfather, and his grandfather developed some health issues that really involved a lot of full-time care. And so it really sort of dominated the last, I'd say, almost 3 months of my life. And so it really cut into time for anything else. And so it just I had to kind of put my focus on that. And so,
I mean, I've been so impressed with the fact that you've been able to even do the sweater, you know, because I know I'm one of those people where I can only do one thing at a time. Well, because I'm a man. That's kind of what most people say to that. So when anyone comes along who's able to have things juggling, you know, looking after babies, for example, or caring for other people, and then knitting and doing a job and doing this, I just think, how do they do it?
Pretty much every waking free minute that I wasn't at work or taking care of my boyfriend's grandfather, I was knitting.
Wow. Did you? I hope it didn't, but did you lose a bit of knitting joy by having to do that project, so monogamously?
Yes, I actually did a little bit. So I am not a monogamous crafter usually. In fact, I have some article ideas for the future. I think I have about, I don't know, like maybe 8 to 10 whips that are just kind of hanging out from the last maybe 2 to 3 years.
They will multiply. If you leave them together, they will breed.
Right. So
keep them separated.
So I really did. After I finished the sweater, I took, other than winding a couple cakes of yarn, I took a complete week off from just anything yarn related, really. Also, like, I just needed to let the wrist rest a little bit too.
And also, as well, if you think about it, it was black and white. You know, you're probably desperate for a bit of color. You need, so.
When Anne is like, oh man, puritanical knitting fun run, and people are like, oh man, we're gonna have to knit in all black. I'm like, yes, it is my moment to shine. Just grab any random regular project that I am probably doing, and there's a like 75% chance it's in all black.
Oh wow, that's so funny, because I like wearing black. That's my go-to color to wear, but I find knitting in black hard work.
It can be challenging. I think It didn't, I mean, when I was crocheting in black, it wasn't really problematic for me. I would say knitting in black is more challenging. And that is why I swear by neck lights. Like at any given time, I will pull one out right now. Here. Oh, got my sweet giant Hobby Lobby bag. That's right, I said Hobby Lobby. Deal with it. So I swear by a neck light. Like I got this at a hardware store.
Oh, and, I was just about to say, because I bought one once and I don't know, I must have got it from Temu or something like that, and it was absolutely crap. And it kind of fell apart. So that one looks really good. So that's a hardware proper going down the mine kind of light, isn't it?
This one, Cobalt is not paying me, but this is a Cobalt brand neck light. I think I paid about maybe $25 to $30 for it. And they have a lifetime guarantee on it. Like, so my significant other, he has one for just doing whatever projects he does, right? And it actually snapped at the neck part, and he contacted Cobalt, and they just sent him a whole brand new one, no questions asked.
Oh wow! See, I'm so tempted to get one, but my problem is that I'm Portuguese knitter. I'm always going on about this, so I tension the yarn around my neck. So I would have the light around my neck and the yarn around the neck, and there's a lot of potential for it to get a bit tied up, I think.
So I don't know if Cobalt is a brand that gets carried out there, but like it is. If you look at it, like it's very it's a flat piece that really kind of hugs to your neck very well. So I think if there was one that is less likely to be interfered with by the yarn versus these kind of like hose looking bits that I've seen from like the more knitting oriented brand neck lights, like this one stays really well in place. Like it's all.
Emily just said, I was exactly thinking this, Emily, that I need a headlamp as if I'm going down a mine, with the yellow helmet and the lamp on.
I mean, that's an alternative too. I mean, you could totally do a headlamp as well.
Yeah, because I can see. Does it annoy anybody else in the room? It does though, right? 100%. Okay.
My boyfriend. I'll be sitting on the couch, and if I'm facing even remotely my boyfriend's direction, he will take all the couch cushions and pile them up and build a literal couch cushion wall to not look at my lights.
Oh, well, you can use your little divider there, can't you? Your Japanese divider thing. You could use that in future.
Yeah, if I could stop trashing it.
Oh, yeah. Just so everyone know, when so I had my problem at first. I couldn't get my camera to work. This was before I even got online with you, wasn't it? I couldn't get that. I had to reboot. And then when we connected, it was fine for a minute, and then it went off, didn't it? But then, you really fought with that, didn't you? He wasn't happy.
I think I wasn't even doing anything. Like, I think I was just sitting here and it just went down, which was what made it even funnier.
I was, my first thought was, oh, what is she going to show? What is going to be seen behind there? Because you'd already said, hadn't you, about putting that there to hide the mess. And it wasn't as bad as she said.
Just a hot, trashy mess.
It's not as bad as my living room, put it that way. Oh, just want to share this by Emily again. So, we were talking about being kind of new to the group. I mean, you're not new to the group, are you? You've been around for quite a few years now. But Emily's the same. She's saying, yeah, I'm a newer, proper member of this group, and my goodness, it has been bringing me so much joy. Well, the thing is about Emily. Emily has her own podcast, and it's called Waldenburn, I think, or Waldenburn Knits, and she's really good. Because I didn't know who she was until she made herself made me aware of her, and I've been watching her since. So I think you should create a podcast as well. The more, the merrier.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know how many more injuries to my hands. It was so there are technical difficulties, like. The mic wasn't working, then the mic was working, but only through a headset. And then it was like, I had to bring in the tech support. I had to bring in my boyfriend to work it out. And then at one point I completely collapsed the whole camera setup.
And
let's see. And then the screen spontaneously fell down from behind me. And then when I went to pick it up, I got a giant splinter in my hand.
I'm convinced your house is haunted. I'll tell you, there was something there. There was an entity there.
I told you. I warned you. I'm like, I am the most technologically inept and accident-prone person ever. I seriously look like an alley cat that has just survived for too long. Like between all of the millions of scars. I mean, clearly it's because I was a cage fighter.
Were you?
I'm gonna go with that. Let's go with that. Yes, let's go with that.
Okay.
Cage fighter. That's where all the scars are from. It's not from being incredibly accident prone. It's from all of the knife fights I got in as a pirate.
That reminds me, when I damaged my finger that time, the end of my finger was hanging off. What do they call it? Is it mallet finger or the other one? I forgot. Anyway, so the thing snapped. What do they call it? What's it called? The tendon. It split off from the bone. Anyway, when I went to the hospital, they were saying, "Oh, why have you done that?" And I wanted to say, "Oh, I was in a fight," but no, just saying, "Oh, I hit it on the bathroom door." It didn't quite have that. Were you just
people the bird too aggressively?
Well, it wasn't that finger; it was that finger. Which you wouldn't think that finger would have any bearing on anything you ever do in your life, but it does. Right? You'd be surprised because it's kind of like the most useless finger you've got, isn't it? Really, if you think about it, but.
Until you hurt one, you don't realize how much just every phalanges counts. It really does. Even your pinky toe, which you think is just the most useless toe ever, but
is that balance? That counts. Is that for balance?
I think it's your balance, yeah.
Katie says, "Thank you for getting through all the struggles. I have enjoyed getting to know more about you."
I apologize. Like the whole reason we are delayed is 100% my fault.
Well, what I was saying, wasn't I, before, because we've chatted about doing this for a while now. I mean, we've kind of put it off, and because of the sweater, because at one point we were
also like the family stuff too. I just didn't want to have.
You were so worried about the setup, saying, "Oh no," and I was like, "Oh, it'll be fine. You know, you're just 5 minutes before, and we'll be right." But it's like, no, you knew better. I should have listened. But at that point, sorry, go on.
I was like, I don't think you understand how technologically inept I
am. Right, something. Let me just check something. Something has changed on StreamYard.
Oh.
So, I've forgot to put that up. So, like and subscribe, everybody. Everything used to be in one place, and now it's all different. So, hold on 1 second.
No problem. Talk amongst yourselves, as they say, right?
Yeah, it's all just looks right. I found it. So, Cassie,
you've been blocked.